Welcome to a guide to every deck in EDH. Today we are looking at Avacyn, Angel of Hope. So Avacyn is an 8 mana white angel. It's an 8/8 with flying, vigilance, and indestructible, and it says other permanents you control have indestructible. So the main two things that this is going to do is, so first of all, it's 8 mana, which means we obviously need a gargantuan amount of ramp in order to get to it. And then secondly, because it makes all of our permanents indestructible, what that means is that any sweepers that are destruction based rather than being like exile based, for example, are going to be one-sided. So we can combine Avacyn with sweepers to make all of our sweepers asymmetrical. So before getting to that, we've of course got our card draw, which is not going to be that much given that we're mono white. A little bit of fast mana. Again, it's not that much because we're in mono white. We've got our lands, including Mishra's Workshop, because we're going to need to be powering out a lot of artifact ramp. We, of course, have to protect Avacyn. It would suck to go all in on Avacyn only for the Avacyn to then get countered or like hit by Swords to Plowshares or something. So we've got Silence and Calamity's Wake to make sure that our opponents can't interact with us. And Ranger Captain of Eos also does similarly. We've got Skrelv, Giver of Runes, and Mother of Runes to make sure that our Avacyn is protected from removal spells. We've got Grand Abolisher and Defense Grid for similar reasons as Ranger Captain, Calamity, and Silence. Cavern of Souls to get through counter spells, and Conqueror's Flail as the equipment version of Grand Abolisher. Then we got all our ramp, and we're basically playing every single piece of ramp that we can get our hands on. So Arcane Signet, Basalt Monolith, Chrome Mox, Cold Steel Heart, Everflowing Chalice, Felwar Stone, Giada because it ramps for angels, Gilded Lotus, Grim Monolith, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Manifold Key along with Sonic Screwdriver and Voltaic Key because they untap artifact rocks that produce multiple pieces of mana or multiple mana like Basalt and Gilded Lotus, Grim Monolith, Marble Diamond, Mind Stone, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Palladium Myrrh, Pearl Medallion to make our white spells cheaper, Scepter of Eternal Glory, which is a 4 mana artifact mana rock that either produces 1 mana or it produces 3 mana of any color, but you can only activate it if you control 3 or more lands with the same name, which shouldn't be too hard in our mono white deck, although we do have a lot of lands that are not plains, so adjust accordingly. Smothering Tithe, Soul Ring, Starnheim Aspirant, Angel spells cost 2 less to cast, Thought Vessel, Thran Dynamo, Throne of Eldraine, Urza's Incubator, choose a creature type, creature spells of the chosen type cost 2 less, so choose Angel, Voltaic Key, and Worn Power Stone. So we are playing 29 ramp spells total, along with 2 pieces of fast mana, a little bit of removal. We're not going to bother with Swords to Plowshares or other pieces of removal because our sweepers are going to do most of the job for us. Of course, we're mono white, so let's add the stacks. Let's go crazy with the stacks. We've got our Rule of Law effects in Archon of Emeria, Deafening Silence, and Phyrexian Censor, and Rule of Law, and Aethersworn Canonist. We've got our anti-ETB triggers in Hushbringer and Torpor Orb, Anti-Search in Aven Mind Sensor. We've got Linvala to shut off opposing creature abilities, Drannith Magistrate because, of course, Drannith Magistrate, Rest in Peace for the Graveyard, Trinisphere doing its Trinisphere things, and then Spirit of the Labyrinth. We don't actually have that many spells that draw us cards, so mostly this is going to be one-sided. And then notably absent are cards like Thalia, because we are playing so many non-creature ramp spells in our deck that we cannot afford to have taxing effects slowing us down. And then we've got some sweepers, which I'll get to in the sweeper section. So then a little bit of tutors to tutor stuff up as needed. Geode Golem is just a way to cheat Avacyn in. It's a 5 mana, 5/3 trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from the command zone without paying for it. So, you know, we can get this out and then just attack an opponent and get Avacyn into play. And then we've got our sweepers. This might not seem like a lot, but it is 10, and this is going to do a number of things for us. So we've got our sweepers that just straight up blow up everything. So like Akroma's Vengeance, destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. Planar Cleansing, destroy all non-lands. Planar Outburst, destroy all non-land creatures. Eye of Revelation, destroy all non-land permanents. Vanquish the Horde, destroy all creatures, but it costs 1 less for each creature that's in play, so it can cost as low as 2 mana. Crisis of Conscience, destroy all tokens or destroy all non-land, non-token permanents. Devastating Mastery, which is either 6 mana to destroy all non-lands, or it's 4 mana to destroy all non-lands, but then an opponent gets to choose 2 non-land permanents and bounce them back to their hand. And then some more important ones are Armageddon, Ravages of War, and Catastrophe. Catastrophes destroy all lands or all creatures, but primarily Armageddon, Catastrophe, and Ravages of War are going to be stacks pieces that we use to blow up all of our opponent's lands. So specifically, all of these Wraths can blow up all of the permanents while leaving our permanents untouched because Avacyn makes them untouched. And then specifically, lastly, we've got Oblivion Stone, another way to destroy all the non-land permanents. And then the best one outside of the ones that get rid of lands is Nevinyrral's Disc, because Nevinyrral's Disc, unlike Oblivion Stone, doesn't sacrifice itself. It just destroys all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments, meaning that if you have an Avacyn in play, you can activate this every single turn to blow up all of the artifacts, creatures, and enchantments, meaning your opponents can never advance their board in any way, because once it comes back to you, you just get to activate the disc again. And there's also a creature version of Nevinyrral's Disc that we could play. That's like something that you could add to the deck as well. So there's also other Wraths that we could play, but these are all of the Wraths that blow up everything, whereas all of the other Wraths at this point are just ones that get rid of creatures specifically, like Wrath of God. Mainly, we want to be blowing up everything, and Avacyn, of course, makes everything indestructible, so we blow up all of our opponents' Mana Rocks, all of their Mystic Remoras and Rhystic Studies, all of their creatures, and that's better than just killing all of their creatures, although Vanquish the Horde just kills all of their creatures, but it's better in that it can cost as low as 2 mana, whereas the other stuff cannot. So that is primarily what we're going to be wanting to do. Again, we want to ramp a ton and get to Avacyn, use our stacks pieces to lock out opponents, or asymmetrically get rid of their lands with Armageddon, Ravages of War, and Catastrophe, and then additionally use sweepers to blow up all of our opponent's stuff while leaving our stuff untouched. And that is the Avacyn Angel of Hope EDH deck.